Are you looking for a new cinematic universe to follow now that the MCU has been put on hold? Are the DCEU movies just not doing it for you anymore? Did you know there's another place to follow your favorite DC characters? This is the DCAMU, DC Animated Movie Universe. There are 14, yes, you heard me right, 14 unique movies that have an array of DC characters spread throughout them that continue one narrative which will culminate in the upcoming Justice League Dark Apokolips War. Now that you know what to do, don't waste any time. Go on those interwebs and start streaming. Sponsored by Local Touch Online, a free online magazine that has an exclusive article by Pop Culture Geekery every month. Also sponsored by Hill Country Comic Con. Hill Country Comic Con is here to promote fun, art, literacy, and imagination through pop culture and comics. It will be held November 28th and 29th at the New Braunfels Convention Center. Go to hillcountrycomiccon.com to get your tickets today.
Oh, hey there, mister. Are you here for the Robin tryouts, too?
Holy twisted adolescence, Batman. Who are you?
Oh, I'm just here to audition to be the next Robin. I'm sorry, I'm only 14 and my voice is cracking, but I put this costume together myself. I hope it's okay.
Yeah, it's a spitting image of Robin.
Are you here for the tryouts, too? Because I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I'm pretty sure you can't be older than 18 to be a Robin.
No, I'm here for Nightwing, auditioning for Nightwing.
Well, I even made my own batarang. I know how to use it. You want to see?
Sure.
Ah! Oh! I think I broke something. I better go fix that. Can you save my place in line?
Sure, definitely, go on.
All right, I'll be back.
Okay, I'll hold your spot. Yikes.
Oh, sorry I'm late. There's nobody on the roads right now, but you believe there's still traffic?
I believe it.
What's up, man?
Not too much. Just continuing to our little stream of the DC, the AEU, EAU, EU, whatever it's called.
AEIOU.
the DC AEIOU animated movies of the Batman series. Yeah.
Yes, we're going to continue our countdown today. It's going to be a Bat-tastic episode because it's actually two Batman movies. So the first one we have is Batman versus Robin. So why don't you take us through that one? All right. So through the magic of technology, or the lack of magic today, apparently, poor Roy has tried to explain this synopsis twice, and it's not catching it. So I'm going to attempt to give you the synopsis of the movie. And then hopefully when we get to discussing here in a second, the internet will be kinder to Roy. Let's see here. So basically, this is the next in the series, the countdown. But it's funny because, we do have kind of some Batman-centric ones that happen out of these first. Let's see. This will be 6 movies we've covered already, and 3 of them are Batman-centric. Which, of course, he's DC's biggest moneymaker, so it makes sense.
Flagship character, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so so I know one of the things you brought up is that this continues a relationship with him and Damian. It's based off the storyline called the Court of Owls, which was a new idea that was introduced in the New 52. But it was done so well. They just made it feel like it had always been there.
Yeah.
It's if you guys have never checked it out, it's the stories by writer Scott Snyder and artist Greg Capullo, who we all grew up seeing his stuff on Spawn, and I actually had the good fortune to meet him when this just started and got that Batman #1 signed by him. And I remember telling him, I was like, "Do you remember how many issues of Spawn you did?" And he kind of thought for a second. He was like, and before he could answer, I was like, "Whatever number it is, I want you to double that for Batman."
Oh
So,
yeah. Yeah, Greg Capullo is amazing. He's a very nice guy. One of the biggest comic book artists. I mean, like physically, just a big dude. And yeah, I got to meet him as well. Not around this story, but I did get him to sign quite a few of the McFarlane or Spawn pieces based on his artwork, which was really neat. And the other thing is the Court of Owls story is amazing. If you haven't had a chance to read the graphic novel of this, the graphic book of this, it's amazing. The way they, just the whole scene when Batman gets drugged in this is absolutely, it's just great. It's awesome. I would definitely recommend reading it as well.
so let's see. So you also mentioned that we do have a very creepy beginning with the character, the doll maker, who you said is voiced by Weird Al Yankovic, which I had no idea until I got to the credits. So that was a nice surprise.
And very dark. One of the most dark beginnings or just parts of the series so far. You know, that's considering they fought Darkseid already, but it just has this creepy vibe. The kids that come out in this, yeah, it's really twisted, but I really enjoyed it, and it kind of added to that. The Rogues Gallery, he's a great addition. So it was interesting to see this character.
Yeah, because I didn't remember him from anywhere, right? And I didn't look up to see if he existed in a previous incarnation.
Yeah, I didn't either. I kind of felt like a kind of a blend between like almost Mad Hatter and like the Toy Maker or whatever that guy's name is. He feels like kind of an amalgamation of those two characters, but just with that evil kind of gothic twist to it. So really enjoyed him. He felt like he belonged.
Oh yeah, for sure. So basically, Damien goes out to face this guy because he's kidnapped some children, and Batman in his armor Batmobile. I don't know what to call this one.
Yeah,
but it seemed more equipped for the snow, I guess. Had tank treads and stuff.
mm-hmm. Always fun.
But yeah, again, like I said, they always get to play with the designs of the bat vehicles.
Yeah, and that was definitely a cool one. I was just like, oh, wow, this is different. And it's funny that you mentioned that. I didn't even notice it, but now that you said, I'm like, oh yeah, that thing did have treads, didn't it? Yeah, so yeah, they love having fun with that.
Yeah, because we'll get to see later that when we skip ahead to the next movie, we actually go back to that one with the double canopy that you talked about last episode.
Yeah,
and we get a whole slew of other vehicles.
Oh yeah.
Let's see here. So they don't say who this is right away, but us reading the Court of Owls story, there's the character named Talon who shows up, and he actually kills the doll maker when Damien was still struggling whether or not to do that. And I know you mentioned about the whole mantra that Batman's trying to teach Damien, which is the justice, not vengeance. And
right.
So that's what he's trying to recite. But Talon obviously has no problem killing people as he takes out Dollmaker's heart.
He performs a fatality on Dollmaker right there in front of Damien's eyes. Kind of take the choice from him, but to illustrate his point, that it's Batman's way is kind of flawed. He's constantly talking to his ear, almost saying his moral code is wrong, and this is the way it must be done. And he gives Damien the choice, and of course Damien hesitates. He almost does it. He thinks about it, but ultimately Talon does the dirty work for him. Talon actually is played by Jeremy Sisto. For anyone that's a fan, he is from Clueless. He played, I think his name was Elton on that one, and he's also currently in FBI, and he's also been on Law and Order. Took me a while to get his voice, but great performance by him for Talon.
Yeah, I forgot to look it up, but I'm pretty sure if it's who I'm thinking of, he was also in the HBO series 6 Feet Under. which if
I
it's
don't know
him,
that.
he
Not
was
much.
pretty amazing in that one.
Yeah, he's a great actor.
So, and of course, we're going to be talking about spoilers if we haven't mentioned that yet. Because I was going to bring up, we get introduced to a new girlfriend for Bruce Wayne. Her name's Samantha Vanderveer, who, if you know Batman's history, and if you know that that the story focuses on his new girlfriend more than 5 minutes, she's probably probably not going
Yeah,
to be a good thing.
right. But they allude to it. They got, and I thought that was interesting how they like, oh, okay, so he knew all along. Batman always has a reason for. I mean, Bruce has a reason for everything. He's like one of the most prepared characters probably in all of comic book kingdom. Just always has a purpose. So
Um, we do see, like we talked about earlier, the progression of Damian and Batman's relationship. There was a nice little moment there where they wanted to do like a movie night there at the manor because Bruce has been keeping him from the public eye. Apparently, I guess he's getting like official adoption papers or whatever papers for him to officially be his ward, like drawn up, so that way he can make an official announcement.
right.
But up until this point, Damian has been hid from the world. And then on top of that, he won't let him go out as Robin. So, needless to say, Damian is getting frustrated with that.
Right.
So, so I had in my notes here that Damian and Nightwing go at it here. I think this was just a sparring match, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
So Bruce basically leaves. He needs to leave to, basically continue his search for these Court of Owl characters, these owls, and one of the dynamics I thought was really interesting. I think, and I think they did this on purpose when writing this, is a natural enemy or predator of the bat is an owl. So I thought that was kind of fun that they did that. Nice little homage there. And actually, in the opening, or towards the beginning of this, you see Bruce after his parents are murdered, actually goes and up to the attic after hearing an owl. He goes up to the attic and he kills an owl that's nesting in the attic, which was a really kind of a foreshadowing of what's to come, sort of. And interestingly enough, Thomas Wayne was played by Kevin Conroy in this, so that was really cool. Again, I'm terrible at voices. I'm gonna keep saying it. I didn't know that was him. I saw that in the credits, and I was like, "What?" So I went back and watched it. And I was like, "Oh wow!" So that was a pretty cool homage. Another really nice cameo we'll see later in the films, like in Arkham Asylum and stuff, is Troy Baker, I believe, who plays the Joker. He becomes the new Joker, taking over for Mark Hamill. He has a small role in this, but he plays like one of the Owl Lieutenants or something like that. So a lot of really cool voice acting, casting in this as well. They've continued that trend.
Yeah, and I don't know if we saved it in the re-recording, but you were talking about how Thomas Wayne actually told Bruce the story of the Court of Owls as a bedtime story. It's one of the most messed up bedtime stories I've ever heard.
Yeah. It's basically the rich people version of the what is it, like Rona or something, like for Mexicans. It's like if you don't behave, this boogeyman is basically going to come and take you. But in this case, it's the owls. The Court of Owls will come and snatch you away if you don't listen to your parents, or if you're not morally good, basically. And Bruce questions it. Is this true, Father? And you've got that man, just that lead up is like, no, well, it's just a bedtime story. We're always going to be here to protect you. And then of course the next shot you see is them being gunned down, and it's just this horrible nightmare that Bruce that continues to plague Bruce of his parents being killed yet again in another story. But it does really hammer in the point, and again it builds kind of that lore that, like you said, seems to have always been there, which I like. It feels very much like a part of his origin. So I loved how they melded that, how they just kind of wove that into the story. Really good.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I mean, sometimes they try really hard to kind of update or enhance or, alter certain classic superhero origins. And, Batman to me is one of the ones that's like the most sacred,
Yeah.
And, this little addition was really good. So we get to a point where Batman actually fights a bunch of Talons, not just the one that we saw at the beginning. But these seem to be like they're undead. And here's the part, like for me personally, unfortunately, I did not get to read all. I read the first like one or two trades of the Court of Owls,
Mhm.
so I missed whatever the overarching story was with them. So at this point, I didn't remember that there was any of them that were, I guess, undead. I don't know how else to say it, because the main one, the one who's called Talon, he's he's alive, and
Right, right.
he's
Well, like in this story, it seems, and again, I read that one a while back, so I'm trying to remember how true to this story it was. So basically, they're not so much undead as they are kind of kept in a uh, kind of a what they call catatonic state. I mean, they're over. Some of them are over like 100 years old, but these are also ex socialites that have been bred to be warriors. You know, they've just been there forever. And when I guess the Court of Owls went into hiding or had to escape, and they don't really, I don't know if they allude to who it was in the story in the books, but they said that some force rose up against them. So I don't know if you know who that was, but they were forced to flee, and so that's why they had been kind of dormant. And so now that's why we're only hearing about them now. But yeah, they're not quite undead. But they can die and be resurrected. It seems like even after I don't know if it's how extreme it got, but like these guys melted at some point, so I don't know if they could recover them. But I know they show body parts, like half bodies and stuff, and it seems like they're being recreated. Like they're in a catatonic state again in these giant, tubes or whatever. And the way they talk about it, as we see kind of inside the Court of Owls, underneath their court, you've got all these, I mean, literally like hundreds of tubes with, I guess, ex-socialites that are part of the original court from, going way back. So, yeah, they were definitely an enemy to be reckoned with. And they do a thorough job almost killing Batman. I think, honestly, if they hadn't melted, he would have been dead. They would have been the end of Batman.
Yeah, and that definitely ups the threat level in this one. And that was the whole thing with the Court of Owls period when they were introduced, is that they truly were a threat to Batman. So that was another thing that I appreciated about them being introduced. I love how they're starting. Well, they have been doing this, but just little nods here and there, or little sprinklings of stories that we'll see coming down as we do this countdown. But I love how Nightwing is talking on the phone to Starfire.
Yes. I was
And then you
actually going to
see
put her
herself.
in my toys, but I was like, she's not quite there yet. But we saw a glimpse of her, and we hear her on the on his Bluetooth thing, which I feel is really outdated now. I don't know. Do people do use Bluetooth anymore? Here I am on headphones, but seems like that
Yeah,
might be the way to go.
yeah, I'm still in public and people start talking to themselves, and I'm like, what? And I'm like, oh, they're on the phone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought that was a dumb thing. I figured the watch took over for that, but that was interesting. Yeah, so we get to see that. Oh, I think we kind of jumped up. Sorry, you had mentioned earlier the Nightwing thing. Yeah, so there's this kind of it's almost like a power dynamic thing also happening between Damian and Nightwing. Kind of this reminder always of, you can never be Batman, and you see Dick Grayson is like, or Nightwing is like, I never wanted to be him, kind of thing. It's a recurring thing, and Damian likes to remind him as much as he can that I am Bruce Wayne's son. I deserve the mantle of the Bat, and it's just that arrogance that you see in him, which is kind of funny because of how much he just seems to really hate his dad and what he stands for. He still has this like, no, I am the true heir of the Bat, kind of thing. So I think it's an interesting dynamic and kind of shows his struggle. And you see him; he is constantly struggling with, you know, is he going to be, this person that Bruce wants him to be? Is he going to be the true son? Is he going to be a Wayne, basically? So that's interesting because they have their own little back and forth that I really enjoy between them. And I mean, the fight is really good, actually. The fighty fight in this one is really cool to see them square off. And you're just like, wow, the kid at just 10 years old, I keep thinking he's like 14 or 15. He's only 10, and he's whooping, Bruce. I mean, he's whooping Nightwing almost with ease at some point. Like he looks like he's holding back, and then he just lets loose. And I mean, he literally floors Nightwing, which is insane because he's an excellent fighter trained by Batman. So
Yeah, it's funny you bring up the fighty fight because I feel like this movie balanced it a lot better. I feel like we got a lot more character moments.
yeah,
I feel like, especially with the whole Batman and Robin themselves, and yeah, like you said, they threw in the Nightwing too as what he was struggling with and has been struggling with since he used to be Robin. So I think the fact that they kind of scaled this one back and only made the Court of Owls the bad guys, I think helped this one a lot, because it allowed them enough screen time, and it allowed all the Bat family enough screen time. So that was something I really appreciated about this particular movie.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So this part I couldn't remember from the comics. In here, it appears that the Court of Owls does not know that Bruce Wayne is Batman, but I feel like in the comics they did.
Yeah, me too. Because they seem to be playing him on both sides, but like kind of with the cowl and without. Because it seemed very psychological, and I almost remember them making a reference to it while he was drugged. That whole psychedelic, trip he had. But again, it's been a while since I read it, but I think it worked both ways in this case, because it added to the story. In the end, or towards the end, where Talon is basically presenting Damian to the court. This whole time he's been working on Damian, trying to turn him against Batman and get him to go the way of the Owls. And apparently he's going to be a successor as well, and join the Court of Owls. That's his whole purpose. And Batman or Bruce is constantly warning Damian, they're only using you to get to me. This is another way to get to me. So yeah, when he presents him to the court, when Talon presents him to the court, it's his choice that Damian has to make. And that's when we learn, spoiler alert, that he takes off his mask, and the whole court gasps as the leader of the Court of Owls realizes who he is. Having met him earlier in the movie.
Yeah. And that's one thing you mentioned a couple of times, the psychedelic trip that they send Batman on, because they basically gas him when he's infiltrating their hideout, and by the time he makes it to the actual court, they tell him that he's been drugged, basically.
Right.
And which again, at that point, I'm surprised they didn't try to unmask him. But they, I don't want to say it this way because it sounds negative, but it's the only way I know how to say it. They just could not do that scene from the comics justice, because that scene in the comics was so well done. I think an entire issue was dedicated to that.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember you had to flip the book.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Continue reading, and it was just all this. They did do a few things, like the whole, they scratched out his one eye. Mm-hmm. So that was one of the looks from the comics. The maze was in there. Right. The owl fountain. I remember all those images. But it's definitely one of those, like, you have got to go read the original of this one just so you can enjoy that.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me, because I hadn't really seen. I'm trying, and as I'm thinking back on it, I tried to remember another book that maybe tried something like that, where you had to spin it, and nothing really comes to mind. But to me, it was kind of what James Cameron did to like with, let's say, Avatar, or like The Matrix. You just had something new that you hadn't really seen before to kind of express, maybe to get you to feel what Batman is going through. And I think this whole, as simple as it was, just literally turning the book as you're reading it, just it just spun you into this chaos of what he's feeling. And I think the book did a better job of promoting that sensation of helplessness and fear and confusion, and just tripping out kind of feel better. So they kind of missed that. Like you said, not to be negative, but it's there. But yeah, definitely the book is really worth reading, this one.
So they pulled an idea that wasn't from the Court of Owls issues, and they kind of threw it in here, but it worked really well. We get a vision of what, I don't know what to call other than a dark Damian of the future. That's actually from Batman number 666, which, yes, that was done on purpose. Uh-huh. It was a vision of what Damian would look like, and it was exactly what you saw. It was like the whole Gotham on fire, and that same suit, because as soon as I saw that suit, I was like, I know I've seen that somewhere. I know it's not an Elseworld story. Mm-hmm. And it's the suit that they give Damian in the comics when he has that.
When he's tripping. Yeah, that one. Okay.
Yeah,
he kind of looked like I thought it was the Gaslight Batman, sort of, the trench coat or something. I couldn't place it either.
Yeah, it's specifically from that story. Okay. I'll throw up the cover so you can see it in the final recording. But yeah, that was a pretty much spot on. Also in the vision, when it shows the Dark Damien standing with all the Bat family around him defeated, they actually throw Batwoman in there, which of course we don't see her till the next
Right.
one. So that was a nice little Easter egg there. Let's see here. So you already talked about, so Talon reveals Damien to the court. We find out that Samantha is the Grandmaster. She was using a voice modulator.
Yeah, and I almost forgot that was, and again, I don't remember that was from the story or not, but I thought it was really odd that her suit was so big when at one point when she's talking, or he is talking to Talon, and it's a really big suit and a big mask and everything, but if you look closely, you see her neck is really small and thin. And I was like, oh, and so when they revealed it, I was like, I thought that looked odd. I thought it was just a drawing mistake, but it really was because she's a small frame, but she's wearing this really big suit with like shoulder pads, and the hood looks really big with the owl mask and all that. Which I have to say, one of the cool things about the books, and I don't know if it was that number 1 that you're talking about, but they came with the owl mask, which I thought was really cool. Now I want one. I was like, oh man, I remember that mask and seeing that in the box and everything and wanting that. I was like, I really wish I'd gotten on that when it came out.
It's one of the simplest cosplays, man. You just wear a nice suit and then you just put that on.
Yep. And it's effective too. I liked it. Again, they did a really good job of designing or of integrating that story, where it just looked like, it's been here the whole time. Obviously it's ultra secret. Like I said, like Eyes Wide Shut or one of those things, where you just believe it. You're like, yeah, of course these guys are. You always hear these stories of a secret society, even in our reality. There's a secret society, so it's really easy to believe and blend in and fold into the story.
So basically, it all comes to a head when they send the Talons for basically an assault on Wayne Manor, which was just really cool. This is actually about the time that I stopped, because I remember this all happening. So the Talons, attack. God, Nightwing gets so messed up in these movies.
Oh,
he really gets messed up in this one.
Oh,
I don't know how he's still moving.
Yeah. That's some super healing right there, because even one of those in the back of your leg, oh my gosh.
Yeah, but I remember, I don't know, I feel like they had a name for it, but I just call it the Batmech shows up. The
so
giant.
Like this giant machine. This isn't the one, but basically it's this ginormous machine, which is amazing, that Bruce gets to pilot, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so it's basically Batman and Alfred, and somehow Nightwing is still fighting even after being hurt so bad.
Just throw some band-aids on it, take some tussin, and keep moving.
But since Batman emphasizes that he doesn't think these Talons are alive, it basically allows all of them to unleash on them. Even Alfred pulls a shotgun out on him.
That was awesome. That was awesome. Yeah, we got Alfred in the fight. I had to pose him like this because he was just kicking some butt in this one, and that was awesome. He even jumps on the back of the robot at one point. The back of the Bat robot, I don't know if she gave a name, but he jumps on that thing and it continues to fight. So yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah, and by the end, another thing I appreciated was that there's actually consequences to everything that's happened. Because of course at the end Batman tries to apologize to Damien, but at this point Damien's just feeling so rejected from everybody, from the court, from him, he actually decides to leave.
Yeah, he's got all these voices in his head. Who am I? He begins to question. And at first I almost kind of felt it was a cliche, but honestly, the kid's 10 years old. He's been brought up, by his grandfather and the what do you call it, the League of Shadows, and you got Batman, in his head, which can't be easy to begin with. The pressure on that, you got to carry for that is, but he was bred for this, but still, it's a lot of people in his head. And not to jump ahead, but or go back here, but one of the coolest parts that I thought was really crazy, and I still don't know how he did it, but Talon basically takes the Batmobile off the platform and drops it on Batman and the robot, which I thought was crazy. And he's just shooting him all the way down. But that was a really cool scene. But I was like, all right, how did Talon get control of the Batmobile? There's no way this guy just took over the Batmobile. But you just figure, well, they know him so well that they're able to just override all his stuff because they know who he is and they override his tech. But that was a really cool scene where he just comes down and lands on him with that Batmobile. That was crazy. That was a good fight, too. that fight between the two of them was amazing. And you get like this throwback to Batman Returns, where he rips off his mask and you see it's basically, this is Bruce Wayne, and it's personal. He even tells him, you mess with my son, this is personal, and I'm gonna enjoy it. And that fight, the choreography, if you watch it, is beautiful. Just the fight is awesome. And I know we talk about the fights, but this one was really well done. You see a lot of just the countering and parrying, and it was just really, really good. It was a great fight, one of the best ones I think in this series so far too.
Yeah, for sure. So let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Let's do our ratings. So 1 to 10, 5 being average. So I'm going to go ahead and just give it a solid 8 out of 10 because I was just really happy with this. Like I said, I love that it had more characterization. I feel like because they didn't stuff this movie with so many ideas. So that's what I'm going to settle on. What about you?
Yeah, I got an 8 as well. It's a strong 8. I like the story itself. The Court of Owls was such a, I mean, it almost had more of this gravitas, this kind of like you said, consequences thing to it. You almost felt like, okay, this could, if there was an ending for Batman, this could possibly be a good ending for him. Like him dying and he went out the way he came in, basically fighting for protecting his moral code and doing everything that he basically felt he was, ultimately born to do after the loss of his parents. So, the fights were great, animation outstanding, voice casting again. Andrea Romano was in here as the Bat Computer, which was great. I think she played someone named Jill. I'm blanking on who she is, but of course we had Troy Baker, Kevin Conroy, Jason O'Mara reprising the role of Batman, doing an outstanding job with that as well. Stuart Allen again as Damian. All the way around, just a solid movie. I wasn't bored. Just again, I enjoy watching these again. And again, kudos to the animation studio. Good God, they are so good. Like this, I love the just the clean lines and the animation is just outstanding. So yeah, definitely solid. Almost a 9. I want to give it a 9, but there are probably a couple that are better. So yeah, I give it an 8. Sorry.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next one. And I know some of y'all are disappointed out there that I'm not doing a skit dressed as Batwoman, but c'est la vie. Blame the quarantine because I couldn't get the costume. Yeah. Oh, there's Thor.
Yeah, but we all wanted to see you in the black leather, whatever that get up is, black leather armor stuff. So too bad, guys. Sorry. Maybe next time.
So Batman Bad Blood is the introduction of Batwoman into this animated universe. This one I remember seeing. I don't think I actually saw. I forgot to mention. I don't think I actually saw Batman versus Robin when it came out. But this one for sure I remember seeing. So this incarnation of Batwoman, just like all these other characters, is from the New 52. Her background is she's Kate Cain, which I love the alliteration, that's classic comic book stuff. Mm-hmm. She was ex-military, kind of lost her way, and
her background is really dark.
Yeah, apparently, I guess her dad was also military. She had a twin sister. Her and her sister and her mom were kidnapped, and the dad led a raid. Since he was in the military, he led the raid himself. Right. But they had already killed the mom and the sister. So after that, like I said, going into adulthood, she was pretty much a mess by her own admission. And Batman saves her in an alley one night, and she kind of has an interesting response to it. She, he's waiting for a thank you, and she basically backhands his outstretched hand, mm-hmm. And he's like, "You're welcome," and he flies off. But the interesting thing is, I guess it inspired her enough because she created the persona Batwoman kind of as this weird homage to him, but at the same time, as she states in here, she wants nothing to do with his little cult, she calls it.
Right. Yeah.
So she's definitely an interesting character. I love her design. I love the color scheme.
Oh yeah, the design is awesome. And she uses a gun.
Oh yeah, which he scolds her for there in their intro. Yeah. So they have a nice intro there where she's trying to stop a gang at the beginning, and Batman intervenes, and there's there's a new villain who we learn later is called the Heretic, and
Heretic.
he just looks like Batman on steroids because he's just got a bat mask. So there's a lot of duality in the story, I guess, for people who seem to be either inspired by or disgusted by Batman, or
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
weird.
and I noticed like with this one, and I don't know if you're breaking up a little bit, but let me know if I'm doing okay. So I noticed in this one, later on, they when they kind of reveal who Heretic is, I kind of also kind of like the previous movie, I saw this as this is potentially if Damian did not go the way of, let's say, Batman, just like Talon, I guess he could be this character, this soulless killing machine, vengeance over justice kind of. So we got a glimpse again of a possible future for Damian if he didn't kind of change his ways, if he doesn't come to terms with what Batman is trying to teach him and get him on that right path. Batwoman was played by by Yvonne like I'm gonna mess this up, Strahovski, something like that. She was actually she's really well known for Chuck, the series with what's his face from Shazam. So that was a great casting on that. I wanted to make sure I touched on that. And it's just another one of those cool glimpses into what if Bruce Wayne didn't get through Damian.
So at the end of Batman versus Robin, I don't know if we said it, but Damian actually gets sent to the Himalayas, where Batman, the same monastery where Batman trained,
Mm-hmm.
and was basically taught how to deal with his inner demons, I guess. So I thought that was a very cool idea, that it harkens back to Bruce Wayne's journey. Basically, Damian is going on a very similar journey.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was nice. But I forgot to mention, of course, the important part of that opening scene is that it appears that Batman is either killed or captured, or he disappears basically after a huge explosion, and Batwoman witnesses it, and then it's her mission to try to find out what happened to him, because he's missing, and so of course Bruce Wayne is missing. So Alfred is trying his best to use holograms and whatnot to make people think that Bruce Wayne is on a trip to the Amazon or something.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty interesting, that they all kind of have to scramble to make this front for him being missing.
Yeah, and that was funny because that technology, they're always. I mean, it's funny to see kind of future predictions. I mean, everyone jokes about the Simpsons and stuff predicting the future, but in this one, it kind of felt like you got a glimpse of, and I forget what it's called, but there's a mapping thing now. They do a facial mapping thing they can do now by combining thousands of pictures of you on the internet and even clips of your voice and mashing it together. But they kind of did that with this, but this was back in 2016, I think this movie's from. And you see Alfred, but of course this is a full, well, no, I guess they do it now. It's a full body image of Bruce at a board meeting as in a hologram form. And then, they cut to Alfred wearing this, I don't know, Back to the Future type mask thing or helmet thing, where he's basically just impersonating Bruce Wayne. So that was kind of interesting to see that future prediction happening there. I don't know how old or new that mapping thing is, but it was interesting. As soon as I saw it, I was like, yeah, they do that now. Like and it's all done with an app or something like that, or some program, some algorithm or something like that. So I thought that was funny.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting how some of this, like you were talking about the watches earlier,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Star Trek told us a long time ago,
Yep.
it's like
Communicators, yeah.
We do get introduced to the New 52 version of Lucius Fox, who I think most people know was played by Morgan Freeman in the Dark Knight trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice to see him here. Go ahead.
Yeah, and he's basically he's for those of you that don't know, he's basically Batman's tech person. Anything or most of the things that Batman uses, from the Batmobile to the Batwing to some of his gadgets and suits, Lucius Fox and him have worked together, or Lucius has come up on his own with this stuff. He's a brilliant what do they call it, research R&D person for Wayne Corps or whatever they call it, and Enterprises, and but also he does a lot of his all his gadgets and fun things, and he's actually voiced by Ghostbusters alum Ernie Hudson, so that was kind of cool. You got Winston Zeddemore playing Lucius Fox in this.
Yeah, I picked it up in the credits. I thought that was pretty cool. We also learned that Lucius has a son named Luke. He's also ex-military. A lot of ex-military in this story.
Yeah. And I think it goes a
Um,
lot with the times. They really blend in what's happening currently. Mentions of Afghanistan and stuff. So I like that they did that. They relate that, and kind of it gives kind of world building help to the story.
yeah, because another military person we get in here is Kate Kane's dad, who actually knows that she's Batwoman and seems to be okay with it, which is a nice, like, refreshing take on it, because most of the time, most of these heroes, when their identities are exposed, usually the people they love are trying their best to stop them.
Right. Now, I had a question for you, and maybe you can clear this up. Now, I know this is the New 52, but the names can't be coincidence. So in the books, I remember reading about, is it Cassidy Cain, who is another Batgirl, and she also has a mentor that's kind of, but his is like a twisted story. So are these completely different characters? What's going on with that?
Yeah, that should be Cassandra Cain.
Cassandra Cain. There you go.
Yeah, but Cain, I believe, is spelled Caia or Cain. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
So no relation to it.
no.
Okay.
And I actually never thought about that.
Yeah.
No, the last time she was used was actually in the new Birds of Prey movie as a kid. But before that, I don't know if she makes appearances later on in this series. Would be nice, because she's actually a cool character.
Yeah, I love that character. Yeah.
Let's see here. So this one is stuffed with a lot of extra stuff, which is actually going to affect how I feel about this movie towards the end.
I know exactly what you're talking. At least I think I do. Yeah. I mean, I almost felt like this went a little too long. It was a little too many characters, like you're saying right now. And, I hate to say anything negative. I did enjoy it, but at one point I remember thinking, I'm like, man, this is still going, and there's a lot of things happening here. We got to see Firefly. We got to, again, we got to see Luke Fox almost pull off this Iron Man-esque. He just goes into this. Well, not to get ahead of the story, but he basically becomes Batwing, and he has this very Iron Man-like costume that he tries on. It almost reminded me of the way Iron Man puts his armor on. So that was interesting. Again, great voice casting by I think it's Gaius Charles. Anyone that knows him, he played Crush on Friday Night Lights. I love that he was in this because I love Friday Night Lights, and it was cool to see him play that character. But anyways, back to the story, Joe. Sorry.
No, it's true, and I was going to bring up about him later. I mean, I don't really know too much about his character. He was starting to come into the New 52 right as I was getting out of it. And in fact, actually, I don't think I actually officially read anything with him in it. I think he was coming to New 52 when we actually owned the shop, which ironically I didn't get to read comics the way people think. I probably just sat and read comics all day, but I actually did not. I was too busy trying to sell.
There you go.
It's the curse of the reality of, when you get to live your dream, you're like, wait, this is not what I thought it would be like.
It's hard work. It's a lot harder than it looks. Yeah. And I'm the same. I'm not familiar with him. I know, didn't he have something to do with like Batman Incorporated, something like that? He became like he took over for a little while for Bruce Wayne. I know it was like they introduced a suit and everything like that. So I kind of felt like they pulled it from that story. This one, I kind of felt like they pulled a lot from, but I'm not as familiar at this point with where they were pulling from exactly. But we do see the return of Talia. She comes back, and it really feels like they just completely rewrote her character as far as her motivations and stuff. Because last we saw her, she was doting on her son, leaving him with Batman, with Bruce, and it was a very open, like, just like there was love behind it. And now she's like, she's killed. I think she even says kill the bastard at some point, in this.
Wait a second. I was going to bring that up too, but didn't she get revived in the Lazarus pit at the end of the last one?
She did, and I guess that's why they allude to it, because they don't really explain. They don't do a good job explaining why she is like this all of a sudden. I mean, she's responsible for bringing Heretic. She's, we learned that she's basically the mastermind behind this all, and they introduce, like I said, a lot of characters, which was my point. I guess they have Firefly, Blockbuster. They even have nunjas, which I thought was awesome. This was one of the big things I did love about this. Freaking nuns. So you got nunjas. That was great. And I think we even had Bronze Tiger. I'm not sure what that character was. There was a guy that was very like martial artsy he had like a little funny kind of Indiana Jones-esque scene where he like does all these flashy things, and then something just falls on him, and it was great. I thought of you when I saw that. I was like, it's Indiana Jones. That was great. Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of characters in this, and Blockbuster, by the way, was played by John DiMaggio. For anybody that is a big Futurama fan or Gears of War fan, he plays Bender in Futurama. And, I forget the dude's name in Gears of War, but such a freaking talented artist, voice actor. We also had Spike, Steve Bloom, Spike Spiegel from Cowboy Bebop. He also plays Wolverine. He played Black Mask. We had a very small cameo in this, I think, towards the middle. So again, just a lot of really great voice talent. Marina Bakarin returning as Talia. But yeah, back to the story. Like, it just seems like her motivations have changed, and it was really kind of like, what the heck happened? Like, yeah, so I was really surprised by that. Like, I didn't get it at first. I was like, what's happening?
No, you're right, and I hadn't even thought about the Lazarus Pit aspect. That's why I was trying to think of a in-universe reason for her to be that way.
Yeah, it was just random.
That would be the only thing I could even justify as to why her change. Because yeah, she goes crazy. Because I think you mentioned it. Yeah, Heretic is a grown-up version of Damien, but he's basically been made in a lab, and apparently he's one of many. And but
she kills him. She kills him. Like, that's why I'm just like, wow. And she's like, get this. She tells, what's her name? I forget her name, but she tells her basically Heretic's number one. She tells her to which we'll pay back later, to get this trash out of here. So it's just like, this lady has no love for her sons or her. It's all about basically the League of Shadows now. It's getting control of Gotham, and later we see. And again, the story, I don't want to say it's convoluted. It's a lot. There's a lot in this story. And basically, they bring in one of my favorite characters is the Mad Hatter. This is kind of cool. There it is. I love Jervis Tetch, so it was kind of cool to see him in this. But yeah, we've got this mind manipulation thing where Bruce Wayne has so they find everyone, they all have to work together. You've got Nightwing, or no, I'm sorry, Batwing. You've got is it Katie or Cain, Batwoman? You've got Dick Grayson playing Batman at some point, and Damian coming back from the Himalayas to help find his father. And they all work as a team. I think it's kind of funny because it takes like 4 or 5 people, heroes almost, to replace one really good, solid, character like Batman. And as much as they, want to each do their part, they think they can do it alone. Eventually they have to work together to find Batman, and they do. And they unfortunately come to the realization through, I think, Luke Fox, that Bruce has basically been mind manipulated, and is now basically setting up all the world leaders, or all these people in this giant floating, I don't know, ship, whatever.
It's the Watchtower. It's called the Watchtower.
Yeah, that's what
Initiative.
I thought. Oh, okay, yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, is this supposed to be like an early incarnation of this? But yeah, so they start mind controlling all these delegates and all these world leaders and stuff like that. So again, it was a lot of stuff. I was just trying to remember. Hopefully, I can remember all the things. I mean, I literally have like questions. I'm like, okay, this person. But yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on. And yeah, she basically. She's ready to kill Batman, and at one point, I think even Batman, she throws Batman her gun and tells her to kill Nightwing, and it's a very kind of shocking image because she throws it and Batman's holding it, and you see his inner struggle with this as he's trying to deal with this. Like, it's if anything, she probably helped break his psyche to get him out of that. I think when she threw him the gun, that's what I was thinking. I was like, well, that didn't help her case.
Yeah, and to throw one more character in there, we do get a cameo by Renee Montoya because she's.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
She's Kate Kane's. Well, they're setting her up to be Kate Kane's love interest, which I'm pretty sure is from the comics too. Okay. But yeah, I guess I think you pretty much covered everything. So I think we'll just wrap this up because I know you have something you want to talk about here at the end.
Oh.
But I'll just settle on a 7 out of 10, just because I don't feel like it deserves enough points knocked off to get down to a 6. Because I did enjoy it, but you're right. I paused it at one point and I looked at the runtime and I'm like, I still got 30 minutes. Like it's when they get to the nunjas. I was just like, oh, this is the end. And then I was like,
Yeah.
wait, there's still 30 minutes left.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And I think what I kind of feel like, and I don't write. I'm not a writer or anything like that. But I kind of felt like when they killed off Heretic, I felt like they could have done more with that character, and they really seemed to make it focus. Like he seemed like he came up and he beat the crap out of Batman, and I'll just call her Katie Kane. He beat them with almost relative ease, So it was kind of like I was like, oh man, this guy's a heavy hitter, and it turns out he's just an empty shell, and it was kind of a letdown that he just died. I was like, he's dead. I thought maybe there were going to be more of him. Like when she killed him, I thought, oh, we're going to get another heretic, or maybe he downloads or something into the next body and comes back or something like that. So it's kind of a letdown. The story just kind of seemed out of left field because they don't do a good job of explaining why Talia's motivations have changed. I know she was trying to establish the League of Shadows, but it just I didn't know why. I was like, wait. Last time she was all lovey-dovey about her son, and she seemed to have this connection. And she kind of alludes to it. I mean, I will give them that. I guess they try to explain it away at the end, where she tells Bruce, Batman, I've done this, I've had your kid, I will never. I realize now I will never have your love, basically, and which seems to be kind of an underlying motivation for her. And it kind of, I don't want to say it downgrades her character, but I felt like I just didn't buy that. I was like, I don't know. I like more like pick one or the other maybe, but it just seemed it was like everything. They just threw it in there. So, and ultimately she gets killed. She escapes and gets killed by, I don't even know her name, Heretic's number one.
Oh, Onyx.
Onyx, there you go. Ends up killing her.
She's named after a Pokemon.
There you go. Yeah, so I mean, to get to my rating, sorry, it's a 7 also. Almost a 6. It's a weak 7. It just felt like it was too long. There was too many characters. I still enjoyed it, but not nearly as much as the previous one or the ones before that. This one almost feels it's a little, I don't say watered down. The voice casting is great. We've got again the same people coming back. And I what's his name? This is kind of neat because we've got and I don't know if they were in it before this, but the voice of Nightwing, Sean Mayer or Meyer, Maher, he actually played in Serenity and Firefly, played Simon, and so you kind of got this nice little reunion with him and Marina Baccarin from Deadpool Gotham Serenity. She was in Serenity with him, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, it was a lot. I was just like, oh my god! By the time I was done, I was just like, oh, okay.
And then they're like, and here's Batgirl.
Yeah.
By the time before you leave.
Oh yeah, and we get that was a cool little cameo. We get the new, and what's her name? I'm really.
Oh, that's Barbara Gordon.
Barbara Gordon. Okay, so and I have to say this is this for me is probably one of my favorite Batgirl costumes. I absolutely love this one. I don't know how fans like it. Again, I'm not in touch with them as much as I used to be, but I absolutely love this costume. And so when they had her come out at the very, very end, has no speaking role whatsoever, but you get introduced to her. I thought that was neat. As a matter of fact, Norma asked me, she's like, there's another Batgirl? And I'm like, yes, they've actually introduced another character, right at the end here. So, but yeah, and I was like, I can explain it to you, but better just to watch them in the next movies and you'll learn who she is because she doesn't read comics.
All right. So Roy's got one more thing he wants to do before we wrap up this video.
Awesome. So I've decided this is basically Roy's toy box. I wanted to give everybody a chance to check out the video, and I want to offer this right here. If you want a chance, I don't know if you can see it with the glare, but basically I am donating this to Pop Culture Geekery. And what we want to do basically is just have you go check out the video. Yeah, give the video a like. Joe's going to put up a little link here, and basically what we want you to do is just go check out the video, give it a like, share it, and you can share it to Twitter, you can share it to YouTube, you can share it to Facebook, tag someone on that, and just give us a comment so we know that because I know like some platforms we can't see who has done all this stuff, but basically just follow the instructions that Joe's going to put in here. It's pretty simple. Watch the video, like it, comment, tag somebody, and if we can get up to let's say 100 likes, Joe. Will that work? If we can get 100 likes and 100 people to do that, then you're entered into the drawing to win the Batmobile. This is by, I believe, Jada Toys. It's the metal. It's all die-cast. It's really cool. It's from the animated series. It's got the, I believe, like the hood opens and stuff. It does come with a little die-cast Batman in there. But if you just do all those little tiny things, check it out. It's a lot of fun. I hope you're enjoying these videos. You are entered in for a chance to win that. And as soon as we get those 100 likes, we'll go ahead and do a random drawing and notify you by the comments you leave. We'll find you on that and notify you. I guess however we do that on social media these days. Joe will take care of that, and we'll let you know that you won. And I will send that out. So yeah, give the video a like, subscribe, tag someone, share it, and you're entered into it. Pretty easy, guys. We're all just kind of doing our quarantine thing, so just check it out when you get a couple minutes and enjoy the video.
All right. Well, we do appreciate you doing that, Roy, because definitely want to keep spreading the love of toy collecting. So just want to say thanks to those of you who have subscribed already. If you haven't subscribed yet, definitely subscribe so that way you can be entered. Give the video a like, which is the second thing to do to get entered, and then go to social media, whether it be on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. Just share it somewhere and then tag somebody when you share it, so that way we'll get a notification. You can do hashtag #PopCultureGeekery, so that way I can find it.
That's a good one.
But anyway, thanks so much, guys, and we will see you in the next video.
Bye, guys.